Yes, people, welcome back to the channel. As you can see by the title, January transfer window is upon us and business begins. So I thought today, why not look at 3 targets that Spurs must try and sign this January window. And of course, joining me, I've got my brother from the Lily White Lab, Kish. How are you, brother? You good?
Yeah, I'm good, bro. Just recovering from this flu that's going around. But we're back to work now, hopefully on the
Hey
mend.
man, new
So yeah,
year.
we're here.
Hopefully new blessings come as well, man. You know what I mean? Make sure you guys go and check out the Lily White Lab as well. There was actually a conversation we had a couple of weeks back about the kind of center forward position, which funnily enough could still be watched today and I think still makes sense. So if you haven't gone and checked that out, make sure you go and check that out and subscribe to the channel as well. Link will be in the description. But let's not waste any time, Kish. 3 targets that we need to address this summer. Before we dive into the players, actually, let me just ask you what 3 positions you think we need to address this January window.
So for me, I think the priority, and the priority has been for a while for me, is a player in midfield who can receive in the first phase and dictate play really. And I think there's two sorts of types of midfielders. You can have like a proper receiver in that area who's able to carry and beat the press, or you can have someone who can drop in and kind of spray passes. You got kind of two options there. You got like the Dembele mold, I guess, and then you've got like a Xabi Alonso type player, like someone who can make the
Real
ball do the
path.
work. And so I've kind of ummed and ahed about which one I think suits us more. I think it's probably harder to find someone who suits the Premier League, the second version, so like the passer one. I think you'll find more players who are built for the Premier League in the first iteration, which is like more of a carrier. But I think Spurs could do with one of each, to be honest, because I think both, you want different ways of being able to build out that first phase.
Yeah.
So that I think for me is the key. I don't think we have a single midfielder who can really do either of those things reliably.
Mm-hmm.
Basuma's probably the best, and he's leaving probably.
Yeah.
So there's that. My second priority is probably a left back. We don't have a fit left back in the squad at the moment, and people will say Jed Spence is a left back, but I think what he's being asked to do from that position doesn't suit him. If it was
Mm-hmm.
like in the Ange system where he's able to drive infield and pick up those central spaces, then maybe. But I think he's often instructed to hold the width, and that, again, being a right-footed left back doesn't work. So
Yeah.
I would look for a left back, and then, to be honest, I'm torn with the third one. I know that lots of people are dying for a left winger. Personally, I would hold out on the left winger, but I think if there was going to be a third priority, I think it would be left wing. But I would really prioritize the midfield and left back in January, and then maybe see where the left winger situation is in the summer. But if we're going for 3, I think 100% the left winger. I think a young striker is the other one I was kind of toying with, and probably a
Yeah.
goalkeeper as well. But I think most likely it's going to be a left winger. Brennan Johnson's obviously looking like he's going to leave. And then we have some players there who are kind of showing signs, but not really. We've got Mikey Moore out on loan as well.
Yeah.
So that position, I think, needs to be someone who's going to hit the ground running if we are going to bring someone in, because
Nah.
we've got a lot of projects
Also
there.
saw, was it Hyuk-min Yang at Portsmouth scored a little nice goal the other day as well. So he's developing nicely as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, as you say, I actually kind of agree. I think maybe I'd even prioritize the left back first. But in terms of
Yeah.
building the foundations first, I do agree. In terms of the midfield, although we do have a couple of different profiles with the likes of Archie Gray, Palinia, Bentancur, Saar, Bissouma, Bergval, none of them still really seem to tick that kind of first phase build up. And as you said, Bissouma was the one that maybe 2 or 3 years ago we signed and thought, could he be the one? But since that red card at Luton, I have not seen the same Bissouma since. So anyway, those are the positions. Let us know in the comments as well what positions you would think are the ones Spurs should be prioritizing and who you think we should be signing. You spoke about the midfield there. Should we start there as well, actually, in terms of the options? Who would be the signing that you go for in this January window if you were Tottenham Hotspur's sporting director?
My dream signing in midfield. So I did a video on my channel where I created a massive spreadsheet, and I like ranked. I created a few attributes to rank them on, and I kind of, it was purely off the eye test, so it wasn't like off
Mm-hmm.
stats or anything. So it was all opinion based. But I looked at a lot of players in there, and the one that I really fell in love with was Manu Kone of Roma, who
Ooh.
has been linked with Liverpool in the past, I believe. I think even Arsenal were linked with him for a while. He's at Roma still. I think he is ridiculous. I think his athletic profile combined with his technical profile is just through the roof, and so suited to Premier League high intensity football. He's that kind of player who can play in really high intensity games but make it look like he's kind of playing at walking pace. He's so kind of composed, so good at evading pressure. Think like a kind of like those first 10 games of Bissouma, really, and
Yeah.
under Ange, but kind of with an even better eye for a pass.
And
And the ability to kind of, if we were deploying him like that, to arrive in the opposition box. Obviously, I would use him in the first phase and just getting us out of kind of presses, helping us build. He, I think, is just fits the Premier League like a glove, and I think he would just guaranteed be an upgrade.
And you know
So
what? He actually balled out against us last year as well, if you remember, when we played Roma. I think it was in the Europa League. And I remember at that time, because United had such a midfield issue, I remember going on Saturday Social and saying, if they signed Manu Kone, I think he solves all of Amarim's midfield issues, because I remember seeing him at the under-21 at the Olympics with France as well. And I remember keeping an eye on Odebert and Tell through that. But it was actually him who stood out for me. And I was like, yo, he's got ball carrying, the technical ability, the physicality. As you said, maybe I wouldn't even look at him as like a primary passer, but he can pass the ball. But in terms of driving with that ball, it's, as you said, you need one of those two profiles where it's either a carrier or a passer. And I trust him in kind of both areas, despite being stronger in one. I've gone for someone of a similar mold, to be fair. And I've kind of got two options here, where one is a dream signing, and the dream signing, which it is little bit unrealistic, but Angelo Stiller, which for me, I think is, in terms of first phase passing, in terms of looking forward and dictating tempo in a midfield, that's exactly what he does for Stuttgart. So in terms of leadership. Now, the reason why I'm leaning towards him is because no other major club has actually stepped out and made that bid for him, despite him performing at this level for about 2 years now. And despite all the rumors to other clubs, I'm thinking, could this be an opportunity that Spurs, where they put big money on the table, address a position that is needing addressing, and for the long term as well? And in terms of the quality he brings, I actually think he suits the Premier League very well. In terms of set pieces, gives us another threat from that angle as well, because I think he's great at set pieces. But I mean, I can't think of many kind of negatives with him outside of the fact that, a bigger club is maybe interested in him. You're never going to know unless you go for these types of players. And the other negative people might say is he's a little bit facially challenged, but hey, man, I love a good ugly midfielder. Do you know what I mean? So I'll take it. But would you make of Angelo Stiller? Because I've heard you talk about him as well previously.
Yeah, I really like him. I think he fits the kind of the second mold we were talking about more so more of a ball player, like more of a passing profile. I think he is very slight, so I do think you need to protect him. Especially someone like Thomas Frank is gonna really worry about that. When you have so much of the ball in games, I think those things are less worrying, especially if you have defenders around them that, in transition are able to physically and athletically compete. I think obviously all of this is caveated by the type of football we're playing. But I think some of these signings, should be made by the recruitment rather than the manager, because for me, I don't see maybe Thomas Frank being here for that much longer. And so if we were to sign midfielders, they're still people that we're going to have to build around whoever the manager is. So I think this profile has been missing for a while. So whether it's for this manager, for the next manager, but on Stiller, I think 100%. I just think pairing him with an athlete would be the best way to protect him, especially in the Premier League.
One other alternative I want to throw in there, because I do like both the options of Manu Kone and Stiller, and I think they would be almost like big money signings, if you like, which we don't see too many of in January. Just for an alternative there, the one I kind of thought of, and I think I've spoke to you about this previously as well in messages, Ruben Neves, who for me has 6 months left on his contract, 27 years old, still kind of at a good physical age, knows the Premier League very well, kind of can dictate tempo in midfield, really can get on the ball and kind of spray passes, is a very much a forward-thinking passer and someone who can give you goals from deep. With 6 months left on his contract, I look at that as like a very good cheap alternative that you can get in. And the only concern I maybe have about him is in terms of mobility. How quickly can he get around and kind of cover those spaces? And as you said, it's similar situation with a Steeler where maybe you need to play someone with legs next to him, like a Saar and a Neves could potentially be a perfect combination there. But in terms of that kind of get on the ball, pick up from deep, he is someone who I look at and think, you know what, in terms of cheap alternatives and smart signings, that is one I would look at. Would you look at that one as well?
100% he would improve us. Again, it comes down to like squad building and in terms of like what we really trying to build. So it's like, yeah, if you bring in, let's say, a Neves and then maybe in the summer you bring in a younger, kind of more future-proof version, I'm fully with that. I don't want to like clog up spaces in the squad. If that means, okay, that's solved now, we'll just leave that. And then they kind of, we grow past them at some point or they start regressing. I think I watched some of Neves' tape in Saudi. His passing ability is off the charts. Like he can, and I think the ability to switch play both sides as well. Because some players can have a one good switch on them, but it's only to one. They can only do it one angle, if that makes sense. He can open up, do it that way, open up, do it that way. Which, you know, especially against low blocks, I think is so important. It moves that block constantly, and then that's when the gaps start opening up. I think he looked a bit sluggish to me, and I think more sluggish than I saw him at Wolves. And I think, you know, the legs are probably,
I feel like Saudi
maybe, or maybe he's just, you know, he's not in shape because it's Saudi. So, you know, that's something the club would have to assess. But 100% a player like that is going to improve us because we're so lacking in that area. So whether it was like a 6-month loan, even if they can't get like the primary target in, then 100%, because that profile is so desperately needed. I've been saying I don't think we've had that type of player. I mean, Dembele, of course, was like a first phase press resistant player, but as in like a passer in midfield. I mean, Harry Winks did it for like, you know, 6 months to a good level.
You know what?
But Modric, apart from that, it's Modric.
I literally said this to Toes like 2 or 3 days ago. We did a little video, and I said to him, "It sounds crazy, but I don't think we've had that profile in midfield." And he said Ndombele, and I said Ndombele was a good attempt at, I think, the hybrid, the guy who can pass a bit, who can drive with the ball. But we got our fingers burnt so badly, we've just decided to never look at that type of profile again. Right. And I'm like, the fact that Winks was such a, he gave us a little bit at the beginning, but didn't end up becoming what we thought it'd become. But I agree that role has been so necessary for a while. And you see it in almost every other top team. They have that. Someone who can, Nico Gonzalez, what he's doing, Zubimendi, what he's doing, Gravenberch, what he's doing. You look at every other functional team in possession that dominates games, they usually have this profile.
Genuinely, the top 8, maybe even the top 8. I would say United still struggle with that. Brighton had Baleba, he's kind of fallen off a little bit this season, but you know, Bruno G is like the pin, that's like the primary. He would be my dream player. I mean, that kind of profile.
Yeah. Well, listen, people, let us know in the comments who you think would be your ideal midfield target as well. A couple of options there. If you've got any other names as well, throw them in the comments. Let's move on to the next position. You did touch on left back there as well. And I can't lie to you with this one. I kind of struggled a little bit in terms of finding a perfect option. And the target I went for is Nathan Ake. And I think I've mentioned this to you previously on Twitter as well. Someone who brings a wealth of experience. I think he's got like 6 Premier League titles. I think covers 2 positions in terms of both centre-back cover for that left centre-back position, but also at left-back. I think the big concern in terms of also ready-made right now in terms of to come in and make an impact. The only concern I think everybody will have is his injury record. Now, I think he had a foot operation. I think it was in March that kept him out to the end of the season. But since then, he hasn't had any injuries. I think also the fact that he's had little minutes with it being a World Cup year as well. I'm looking at the Netherlands team. I'm seeing Van der Ven, Timber, Van Dijk. Everybody's eating but him. And he was pretty much a shoo-in for that squad. He will want to get minutes. Similarly to like Neves, it's one of those where I think a 6-month loan, could we maybe use him just as an extra body when Udogi's not there, a natural left-footed option out there, and just for him to kind of either get his minutes up or maybe just as a short-term stopgap? Because I do understand, obviously, he's got his injury issues, but in terms of proven quality that can come in and step up right now, I think he can make that bit of difference, in my opinion.
So this is like one I would 100% agree with Nathan Ake, because I think that profile, the left back, left centre back, I've been looking, and like it's a really difficult player to find. I think all the kind of, and this is part of the reason that all the top clubs have snapped these players up. Like Vardio, went for I don't know how much, but something crazy to see. You got Calafiori at Arsenal, Timber. These profiles in the modern game who can play at fullback and centre back are so useful. Hincap, yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so when I'm looking around, I think you got Lukeba at Leipzig, which I think would be a very, very good signing. I still think he's more ready to play left back than left centre back in the Premier League. But that's going to cost north of 60, 70 million. I think Ake is a no-brainer signing, and that's something I should have added when I was talking about my targets. I think we still yet to really have cover for Van der Ven on that left side, and like I said, we also need a left back, and to fill that role with one player because of squad registration issues and stuff like that would be really useful. Ake is just one of those players that goes about his job so effortlessly. Brilliant 1v1 defender, smooth on the ball.
Yeah,
I've always really rated him. And it looks like City, they've got now O'Reilly and Aït-Nouri at left back. They've obviously got Gvardiol, who's really, really coming on. Kusanov as well, who can play, I think, both sides.
He's only played, I think, 220 minutes this season, which I think for a player of his caliber is a real shame, in my opinion. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, so 100%. I think that's a no-brainer. The person I would put forward is a lesser-known player who I think is more of a project, but could turn into a similar style player as Ake. I think probably more offensive than Ake, but it's Dayan Matali of Toulouse. He's only coming off his, I think, first senior season. Although he's not, I think he's 21, so he's not that young. He seems to have broken through quite late. But he's been very, very good. And the thing that I love about him is how complete he is. In terms of like fullbacks, I love a fullback who can just command their whole flank, and both offensively and defensively. They, those fullbacks, you watch them and they just own that whole flank. They own the winger. Yeah. Both they're constantly forcing the winger back because they're so athletic and offensive. But then when the winger comes the other way, they're more than ready to deal with that.
I'll be honest with you, I feel like that's almost the meta for fullbacks these days. When you look at the likes of Nuno Mendes, you look at the likes of Hakimi, the best ones, that's what they're able to do. Even Gvardiol last season, they're able to get up, be effective in the attack, give an option, whether it's inverted, overlapping. But then when it comes to that 1v1 defending as well, it's like you can't no longer cheat the game where you're a specialist in one area and a specialist in another. You'll get exposed and criticized all over the place.
Yeah, 100%. And part of that has become, I think, fullbacks, one of the positions which is so athletically demanding. I think you have to be a top athlete to be a top fullback. I think the only one that really gets away with it is Trent, because he's got that freakish ability on the ball. But I think pretty much every other top fullback is athletically very, very, very good. And he certainly fits that.
Because let's be honest, we've even got what I call Trent Light and Pedro Porro, but because he's not as elite as Trent in those attacking areas, his defensive deficiencies, he can't get away with that. And this season, he's rightly been getting criticized for those issues. Do you know what I mean?
100%. And if your on the ball quality drops off like it has with him, then you are then redundant. You can't. You're not bringing anything to the team. Whereas, if you have those athletic physical capabilities, you can always lean into those on bad technical days. People have off days. I think Poro's had a bit of an off season in terms of quality, but having that flooring of physical and athletic capabilities as a fullback is so important. And this guy he's built. I think he's like 6'1", 6'2", but he's still agile. Good ball manipulation, so he's good like under pressure in deep areas, but as well to kind of get his crosses off in the final third. He hasn't had many senior, like this is his first season breaking through, but there is a lot of hype. I think Newcastle are sniffing around him as well. So that would be my kind of lesser known pick for left back. And obviously Nathaniel Brown is another one who's been massively hyped. I think he's probably unrealistic now. I've seen Real Madrid be linked as well. I know we were linked with him early in the season, but I think he's probably out there.
Now. The
Oh well,
sharks
yeah,
are swimming, brother.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But no, I actually like that as well. And in terms of even like the lack of experience, I do think sometimes with us being Tottenham Hotspurs, bro, we're not going to always be able to get those big name, ready made players right now. But if we can take the gamble on the right project, I think, which is kind of what you're alluding to here, it could pay off long term, where you kind of maybe rotate him with Udogie and he kind of develops there with
So
Udogie's minutes.
just on that, I think this is where we have to be careful as a recruitment. It's like I love these project signings we've made. I love the Bergvals, the Greys, but there's needs in the squad. You fill those needs with senior kind of ready-made players. They don't even have to be senior. No, they just have to have a certain amount of minutes in their tank that you know they're going to make an impact. But then when there's gaps like I think the left back role, that's a potential where you could be like, okay, Udogie is probably going to be first choice when he's fit. So there's scope there to maybe get a younger player. It's where we're trying to fill starting holes with project players, but there's definitely still space to have those project players in and around the squad, as long as you make sure you back it up with ready-made quality as well.
No, fully agree. Let's move on to the last position, and that was left wing. I think we both kind of touched on there as well. Who is the man that you've gone for in that left wing position? Because obviously, I feel like the first half of the season, all the talks was we should go and get Semenyo. We should go and get Semenyo, and he's now fishing with the Shark team at Man City. So we've had to look elsewhere. Where would you go?
This again, I think you can kind of look at different profiles for this one. So I think on Kudus' side, we have someone who is brilliant in terms of like attracting players towards him. Ball retention is so good. It's a lot of kind of, I guess, chaos. Not in terms of the ball's not under his spell. The ball's under his spell, but it's very like head down, bundling through people. So I think on the other side, and I still think with Kudus, there's not that perfect goal threat yet anyway. So I think on the other side, you can go one of two ways. I think you can go either you get someone who's very creative in terms of not like a playmaker, but like someone who's going to get to the byline and consistently put crosses in, and be that head up player and more associative, I guess, than Kudus, be able to link play, and or you go with someone who's goal heavy, get a lot of like players attracted to Kudus' side, and then you have someone popping up on the other side to put chances away. And both those options in my head, both you have them at Man City. So you've either got Savinho for me or Marmoush. And obviously we don't know whether they'll sell both of them or one of them or none of them. But with Semenyo coming in, I think there is scope to go in for one of those. And the Marmoush, I think he's a brilliant goal threat. From free kicks, but also like his finishing ability is so good, so calm in front of goal. Has that Son-esque cut in and finish shot, all kinds of finishes. He was performing so well in Bundesliga, and City spent big money on him, and I think he would guarantee bring goals. My choice is more the other side. I think I know the team does lack goals. I do think Savinho is like a buy the dip type signing right now. I still really rate him massively. He can play both sides. I think he's so good at combining with people. He's good 1v1. He actually, I know people prefer him on the right, but I think his best season so far in his career came at Girona when he played on the left. And that was at 18, 19. He got in the team of the season in the Liga. So he's a huge talent. I think part of his lack of form, I think, would probably be down to, for me, a confidence / I'm not getting enough minutes issue. I still really rate him, and I think that's one worth going back in for me. I know you're going to speak on Diamande, who I also adore.
Yeah, the thing is I actually really like the Marmoush shout, and I didn't hear about it till about maybe the last week or two when the Semenyo kind of talks came in, and if I'm being honest as well, the back end of last season when he came in from January, I think they were talking about he is the best January signing in terms of goals and assists. So he actually started really well in terms of life in the Premier League. And then this season, he's just been unfortunate that Doku's basically lifted off. Cherky's come out of nowhere and been absolutely sensational. So he's kind of been taxed by that. And obviously Haaland in the freakish form that he is. I actually really like that shout. I think with the Savinho one, the issue I have is he's still a project. He's still someone who still needs defining, still needs polishing, still needs to get his confidence up. And I kind of already feel like that's a little bit of a mirror situation with what we have with Tell at the moment, where
I know the bear.
could potentially a player be there, but you really have to kind of develop that. And I can't be patient enough to develop that.
Yeah.
And obviously, even in terms of Yandy Amande, someone who I like very much, and I think the rawness that this guy plays with, the dribbling ability. So he's kind of similarly devastating, like a Doku or a Kudus in dribbling. He's much cleaner than a Kudus in dribbling and can beat a man precisely. But again, his first full season of kind of first top flight level football.
What
So
he's doing is because he was playing semi-pro 2 years ago.
insane, bro. Insane.
Yeah.
Like, I think Leganes last year is where he's at.
Yeah.
And I was like, hold on, that's La Liga second division. How has nobody like seen
Apparently
this talent?
they sent a scout to
Yeah.
a college tournament in America, and he was playing college football or something like that in America. And then they were scouting someone else, and they just saw him or something along those lines.
Hey, listen, your football dreams are never too far away, bro. You could be playing in a local park, you might get picked up by RB Leipzig. But he is someone who, even at AFCON now, he's shining as well. So he's taken to it at club level, Champions League level, international level. And I'm kind of thinking, oh, is he going to be that next 100 mil guy? And could we maybe jump the queue by getting him in January? RB Leipzig, we know they don't let players go on the cheap. So that one would be a little bit of a struggle. If there was a dream signing, though, that I think kind of ticks all those boxes we spoke of, Iliman Ndiaye at Everton. What that guy is doing this season, bro, I fall in love with him every time I watch him play, bro. The ability to beat a man on the inside, outside, can play on the right, can play on the left, can play in the 10, can play up front. Like, he ticks all the boxes in terms of goal contributions, in terms of being able to create for himself and create for others as well. Like, has that little bit of X factor that I'm looking for in a Kudus in that final third. He gives me that. And I just think, bro, after this AFCON turns into every 4-year tournaments. I don't have to worry about international trips. Him and Kudus on the wings is perfect. And then if you've got Xavi there, I feel like he's got the runners there immediately to just be able to play those nice little cute balls in the 10. Kulusevski, Madison, we've got options in the 10. Those wide guys for me are crucial now. And I think Iliman Ndiaye just encompasses everything we've spoken about with Marmoush, Diomande, and Savinho. He comes with all in at once. The only issue is, of course, he's still got, I think, 3 years left on his contract. He's arguably Everton's best player. But the way I look at Everton is they're not really pushing for anything. They're not really doing anything. And this is now his second season. Could we maybe plant the seeds now to maybe get him in the summer or something along those lines? But he is someone who I look at and I'm just like, you are perfect for us.
He feels like someone that throughout his career has constantly wanted to take the next step. So I think this is a jump that makes sense for him. And I think he's kind of picked his moves quite wisely as well along the way. Like even the Marseille one, I think that worked out well in terms of coming back to the Premier League and then continuing to kind of rise and rise and rise. I think he barring Shirky, is my favorite player to watch in the league. I love watching him. So I'd always welcome someone like that. He fits the box of like being a bit more associative than Kudus in terms of like being able to combine with people, head up a bit more, looking what's going on around him on the flank. The only concern I have with him is like, is he a big fish, small pond type player? When a lot of Everton's play runs through him, and I think he's super involved. I just want to. It's hard to know. But I think that's the only kind of thing that's telling me maybe it's one of those. But I love him as a player. Like everything he does is just like it's one of those you just want to watch all the time.
Literally, I was going to say he's one of those few players you actually pay the ticket money to go and watch. Those are the types of footballers people enjoy. Do you know what I mean?
And I've said forever, like I'll never turn down a player like that coming to Spurs. Like I said it with Eze as well. I said I think Eze ceiling is capped. I literally said this when he was linked to us. I said, I don't think he's what people think he is, but I'm never going to say no to a player like that because I love watching him play. Obviously now I hope he fails in everything. But yeah, I really like Ndiaye and I would definitely be open to that one as well. And he's different to what we have there as well. So
100%. I feel like very different to what we have, and just I just think of the chaos that him and Kudus on either flank could cause. And we are so kind of right-hand side dominant in our team at the moment. I feel like he would just give us a little bit of balance. But I do agree in terms of that is one concern that I think I've had for a lot of players. And maybe you could say that with Marmoush. Maybe you could say that that's the concerns of Semenyo going to City is sometimes you can be that big player out of Frankfurt, out of Bournemouth, and Everton. But once you take that next step, I've always said you don't want a Jack Grealish scenario where you pay massively for a player and they just end up becoming another cog in the machine when you expected him to be that difference maker. But run me through your 3 options again, just before we close off as well.
We've got priority for me, Manu Kone. No, actually, you know what? I'm going to go left back's priority. If I'm being in my sensible head on. So Dejan Matali of Toulouse, Manu Kone of Roma, and I'm going to go for Marmoush of Manchester City.
There's 3 good picks. I will go for Nathan Aki at left back. I think I will go for Angelo Stieler in midfield and Iliman Njai at left wing. Now, if we did go for Iliman Njai, I maybe switch that to Ruben Neves just because from a budget perspective, so it makes more sense because ain't no way we're getting Stieler and Njai in the same window. But Kish, appreciate you joining me, brother. We will definitely do a couple more videos throughout the season as well. People, make sure you are subscribed to the Lily White Lab as well. Go follow him on all the socials. He's always dropping gems online. One of the best up-and-coming content creators of 2026. You heard it here first. People, let me know your thoughts in the comments as well. What 3 signings do you think Spurs should be making this January window? Like the video if you have as well. Subscribe for more. I will catch you guys on the next video. Till next time, peeps. Take care.